Welcome to the Colleen Gallagher podcast. This podcast is for you if you are a magical overachiever, but it seems no matter how much you achieve, obtain, or have the picture perfect life, you feel empty on the inside. Our intention with this podcast is to support you, to activate you, to educate and empower the overachiever to learn how to create your fairy tale life. We support you with clarity on your purpose, emotional intelligence, emotional mastery, spiritual connection, relationship clarity and mastery, digital marketing and sales, and manifestation. We offer content that will inspire you to see no matter how bad your life feels, you can still create a life that you love. This became a passion of mine because I was diagnosed with cancer at age 14. So download, subscribe, leave us a review, and let us know what you're loving. Tune in to receive the frequency. I love you, Colleen. And I'm so excited, you all, because we are on episode 131 and we are having another epic conversation. I haven't done a solo episode in a while, you guys, so maybe this is inspiring that. But I'm super excited to bring this guest to you, Jennifer Hernandez. She is a single mother, is a single mother of 4 in the mortgage industry for over 18 years. However, her determination never allowed her to quit. In the past 3 years, she has been named in the top 1% of loan officers in the U.S., Scotsman Guide's top producer, FHA's top 50 in the nation, and the National Association of Real Estate Professionals' top 250 producers. She also has managed a branch closing out over $180 million in production. Clients praise her for going above and beyond to make their dreams a reality. She's also known for saving deals and finding solutions for issues. She believes that her life experience is what sets her apart from the competition. It's also her passion to help others. And she's going to be a brand new author with her new book coming out, No One Can Stop Me But Me. And she's the co-founder of My Do-Over, a platform created to help people to do over in life and achieve their highest level of success possible. So welcome, Jennifer. We're super excited to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm just honored that you would even ask me to be here and share my story.
Of course. And I'll give you all a little bit of backstory. So I just met Jennifer not that long ago, actually. Well, I met her like a few years ago, you guys, actually, right when the birth of my 3rd book was like being written, but we didn't remember we'd met each other. And so I go to this event and it's in the Hollywood Hills. It's called Mindatonium. It's a new platform. And we kind of sat next to each other and started kind of hitting it off before the event like kind of started. And then we really hit it off and we realized we had mutual connections. One of the other women, Tara Delamy, who's been on the podcast, and another guy, Tony. And so I was like, that's it. You have a book. Like, you have to be on the podcast. We have to share your story, because when you guys hear what Jennifer has gone through, you're going to be like, what? You're going to be like, this can happen for her. Like, it has to be able to happen for me. Like, it just has to. So I'd kind of just like for you to start out and share a little bit of your story, because I know it, but I think it'd be really powerful if you could just share kind of, the key parts of it. And we'll get into some of the questions that I want to dive a little deeper into.
Okay. So I didn't take the traditional ways of life. I definitely took the hard route with everything that I did. A sense of abandonment when I was around 11 sent me to run away from home, starting out at the age of 13. I was looking for love in all of the wrong places. Kicked out of high school, sophomore year, straight Fs, and went to an alternative school program where I was able to actually graduate with my class. But after graduation, between 17 and 19, I was homeless off and on. And at 19, got pregnant with my daughter, and she was the reason for me to change my life. Also, throughout that time, I ended up hanging out on the worst streets of Chicago with gangs, selling drugs, doing a lot of drugs myself. And the life I was living before I got pregnant was going to end me up dead or in jail. And my daughter, I named her Destiny because she was truly that for me. She was my destiny to, help me start living a life of purpose versus, just trying to survive.
Yeah. It's such a powerful story, because for me, I've never been someone who was like, I grew up with money struggles. Like, I never saw my parents fight or anything like this. And I've had the entrepreneur broke issues of being like, I can only afford rice, but I'm like putting this money into my business. And so I love hearing stories like yours of like, there was this really deep, I guess, just experience that unfolded in your life. And there was something though within you that just kept that drive and kept that inspiration, kept that hope to know that you were worthy of an amazing life and that you've created it. And so I got the privilege to read like the first few pages of Jennifer's book kind of for this podcast. And so one thing I'd want to say or wanted to start with is, the woman we see and the woman we're hearing today, the way you communicate, the way you articulate, we would never assume or guess or think that you were plagued by, sexual promiscuity, drugs, guns, alcohol, and gang violence. So like, how do we even like wrap our heads around this? Because it's like you're looking at you know what I'm saying? We don't even, it's not even something like, it almost feels like at the woman I'm looking at. And then like even seeing that, it's like I'm looking at two different lifetimes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how did we really move from like, oh my God, the person listening to this, because we have people who I know listen to this who are homeless right now, people who are struggling right now, and they listen to this podcast and they've emailed me because I know it, and they'll be like, I'm getting results now, I'm getting this. Like, what, how do we go from that to top national performer in your industry?
It was not easy.
Yeah.
You made it seem very easy. It was a lot of overcoming and a lot of work, and a lot of determination not to give up and not to be like defined by my circumstances. And of course, when I was younger, I had no idea really, because I grew up in the suburbs. I had a home. I do have emotional and like verbal abuse, growing up, but I don't think we realize how much the emotional abuse actually cuts until we start to do our healing work. So the truth is that now that I have done so much work within myself, like I can literally see that it was that emotional abuse that made me know with inside of myself that it was safer for me hanging out on the streets of Chicago than inside the home, because the damage that was internally being caused to me. And so, but once my daughter was born, I was like, I'm breaking the generational curses. There's no way, like I instantly started dreaming. I instantly switched from like survival mode, because when you're trying to survive, like you're not dreaming. So
No.
my biggest takeaway for anybody listening is that do not do that to yourself. I don't care if you're just surviving. I don't care if you have money. I don't care if you're broke, you're homeless, whatever. See that house that you want to live in. Because the minute my daughter was born, I seen a different version of my life that I wanted. And within 4 years from giving birth to my child and living that life that I was living, literally, we had gang fights within my house, within the home that I lived in when I got pregnant with her, cars blown up in front of the house, to 5 years later, I was making over six figures, had a $500,000 house, 4 rental properties, and a vacation home, and took 4 vacations that year with my family. So that just goes, and I remember living in the 2-bedroom apartment, and I remember seeing the life that I had desired. And I had, the thing is I did have one uncle who had all those things. And I remember like, I was like, that's the life, like his life is similar to what I want. So it's nice to like, even if you don't have that within your family, like just go drive to those rich neighborhoods, drive through there and dream of the life that you want regardless, because you hold the power within you. So
I love that. And I do agree with you, like the part on dreaming, because when we are in a state of survival, and I want to go a little bit deeper into that, when we're in this state of fight or flight, when we're in their state of like, I either have this or I don't have this, and we're like kind of in this chaotic space, how do we, like, what do you tangibly do? Like, what's a practical thing someone who's listening to that, like, they might not even know they're in a fight or flight stage. Like, how do they have the awareness? Like, this is how you're in a flight or flight. And here's like real time, like, okay, I had gang violence in my home when I was pregnant. Like, how from that state do you like re-regulate and realign to get you to a situation where 5 years later you're making six figures and $500,000 home?
I mean, I really just, I didn't, because now that I look back, like I can see where I did that in my life. But at the time I was doing it, I didn't realize what I was doing. Like you have to remember, I went to alternative school. Like I barely graduated high school. I didn't have mentors. We didn't have social media like we do now. Like I wasn't getting poured into with like motivational speaking. So I remember just like looking at what he had and just being in awe of my uncle and like saying like, God, that's the family, like that you take vacations and you have a nice home and you guys are always going on vacation. Like that's what I want. And I just think that the one thing my dad did every year for us was make sure to take us on vacation. So I always seen outside the neighborhood that I lived in, and I seen that there was this big, huge world out there. So I knew, and I think that's very important for people to do, is to travel and know that there's like this big world outside of like the place you live or where you were born into, and I just started to dream. I mean, I just seen a vision of that, and it was just like a glimpse. It wasn't even like I had no practices back then. It's different now because now I like write them down. I see them. I record it on a voice note. I listen to it daily. I do other things. But back then, like I didn't do anything because I didn't know anything about it. So really, all you have to do is just see it and want something more than
Mm.
what you're currently in. That's the first piece of
Yeah.
it.
And I think it's a really important step. I agree with you because I remember, it was a little bit different situation. I mean, not as extreme as yours, but I was working a corporate job and I had a six-figure salary, but I knew that I couldn't see myself into my 30s and 40s. And this was the life that I was living, like going into a job that I hated. Like I wasn't like doing things that I loved. And like, sure, it was great money and I would have had a good life, but there was just this emotional void that I couldn't live with. And so
Yeah.
like I took that leap and I moved across the world to New Zealand, which is where I started yoga and meditation. And I really truly awakened, I would say, like from the matrix. Like I remember like walking into a mall and being like, oh my God, like all of this is placed to like overstimulate my mind. So I can't make like the right choices of where I want to go in life. Like it was like this whole thing of how I realized like everything was set up to like distract you from what you really wanted. So I love that you shared that. And I think it's such an amazing thing to see how quickly your life can change just in 5 years. Like it doesn't feel like it's like, what do they say? Like the days are long, but the years are short. Like when it's happening, it feels like, oh, it's never going to change. But then like now that you're there, it's like, oh my God, it's all happening.
Yeah, and it goes
So
quick. There's actually something that you said that I just want to touch on because I got chills as you said it. So that's the biggest thing that I share with my children is like we have to work for the rest of our life. So like you have to do something that like you love or you're like passionate about, because that's why I feel like so many people are so unhappy, because they're stuck in this life of this day-to-day work that they really don't have any heart or passion for. So I give you kudos for that because it gave me chills when you said it. And that's like the most important thing to me is like do something that you love, that you feel resonates with you.
yeah. And I think for me, what was really important, we'll get back into kind of some things I had for you, is like for me, it was when I did that, it's what finally healed me from my long-term cancer prognosis. It was like finally what freed me of not having to take a pill every day for the rest of my life and be on Synthroid and Levoxyl, which have like serious side effects if you take it every day over decades of your life, which I would have had to. And so like for me, it was like a different scenario, but because I did that, like I got my life back, and I technically should be like a car running on empty the last 5 years of my life. But when you look at the last 5 years, everything I've accomplished, it's obviously not true because I've accomplished in 5 years, it would take some people not like more than a lifetime to do. So I think it's just one of those things. That's why I love stories like yours of just how quickly it happens. And yeah. So the next step I really had for you is like, what do you feel like finally really supported you to change the habits that you had to receive a different life? Because you touched on that in your book, the little bit that I read of like, really being able to change your habits to then get you to that desired result.
So I had to hit rock bottom, like you just said, like you hit rock bottom, right, with your illness. And I also got chills when you said that. So I have to touch on it again. Something else came to me, and that is that when we live in a state of distress, it causes disease.
Yeah.
It literally eats us from the inside out. And the truth is that I wasn't happy in my life. I was I wasn't happy, regardless of what I had accomplished. I internally was not happy. And when you're not happy, like you tend to involve yourself in other people's problems, talk about people, do anything you can to distract yourself from looking in the mirror and having to deal with And the thing is that I had all of those things, but then in the crash in 2009, 2010, I lost it all. And my 4,000 square foot home, pushed my Christmas tree out the door a week before Christmas. By this time I had 2006, I had given birth to my twins. So now I had 4 kids, 4-year-old twins and 2 going into high school. And I just lost everything. I lost my rental property. I lost my home. And right after that, I knew that my relationship was over too. But because I came from a broken home, I so desperately tried to not have my kids have to go through that. So I continued to sacrifice myself for them for what I felt was like the best thing for them, right? And a lot of parents do this, and we think we're doing the right thing and we think we're helping them, but we're not, because we're teaching them that that's the kind of love. And then when you're not your greatest self, then we're teaching them that to be that person, you know? So I decided that I was going to get divorced too. So all of it happened in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when they say when you hit rock bottom, you see who's really there for you. And I was so alone. I was so alone. And all of the people that I thought I had, I did not. And it was a very, very hard time for me. And then we went through a lot. And I'm not going to jump into all of that because it's way off. But we went through a lot, and I literally had no choice. My kids, I was all that they had, because when I got divorced, my ex-husband was also an alcoholic. So he was gone, you know, without me telling him what to do and being the mom that I kind of stepped into the role to be. He was able to be who he was without me. And that was, you know, an alcoholic, and he wasn't present. So I was now raising 4 kids on my own, back building the mortgage industry, which 100% commission. And I was waitressing on the weekend for cash. And I couldn't, one day I just cried so hard, and I'm like, that's it. This is not my story. I also started like reflecting on my life and writing my story. And that actually helped pull me out of depression, to reflect on everything that I had already overcame in life, you know, to know that like, that was not going to be the end of my story, you
Yeah.
know, and that I had to do something to reprogram the way that I thought, to call into life, like the rest, you know, the new me, and allow myself to heal. And just I had to remove myself from every single toxic person, individual, anything that was negative and not uplifting to me. I had to remove myself from, which meant my family, all my friends. And I was walking by myself. But at that time, I got introduced to a multi-level marketing company, and the co-founders would like, they were inspirational and motivational. So I would like sit in the back of the room, and I would hear them on what they, you know, would do to call in the life they desired. And that was the first step of me learning how to, you know, really get the life that I truly desired, instead of the one that I was currently living.
That's wild. And it's like, it just goes to show you, not only did you have like one, but you had like 2 big experiences that really like brought you down. And you know, but I always feel like those experiences, I always say, and they're a blessing in disguise, because when we pray for a big life, God answers our prayers by being able to go through tough experiences, because without those tough experiences, we couldn't kind of we don't have the story that's required to get us where we want to go. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because we're like, oh, this was like terrible. But when we look back, we're like, well, I prayed for a big life. And when I prayed for a big life, this is just part of the story. So when I, you know, kind of had various things in my life that were like taking me down, I would sit there and I would be like they were taking me down. I would sit there and I would be like, well, you know, like I prayed for this in a way. So whatever I'm going through in this moment, like I know that it's going to help me to get where I want to go, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. Like I prayed for this for my story. And so the other thing that I really wanted to share with you is that when you were in a really tough spot, or ask you, and you kind of touched on, but you're in a really tough spot as a single mom, and you know, your husband left, he was an alcoholic. I'm sure it was really tight with money, or, you know, just in life. How did you make things work? Like from a really tactful perspective? Because I know there's many people listening now that are like, I have all these things and what she's saying, but I have like negative money in my bank account, or a few dollars in my bank account. Like, how do you even begin to like manage this?
So, yeah, it was negative thousands of dollars every single pay period in my bank. I had payday loan after payday loan, low, like high interest loan after high interest loan. And I literally, the key to doing it is really to not live in that state, is broke. So at first, I didn't know that. And I was, crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no money, there's no money. But what we feed grows, right? So I had to starve that. So I had to pretend like I was okay and everything was going to be okay, and money would just start to come. And I am not kidding you that the more I pretended like I was not broke, the more that I pretended like it's okay, the money's going to come, a check would show up in the mail. All of a sudden, I would get a referral from somebody that I don't even know who they are. In literally, the universe and God will provide you exactly what you need, but you have to feed what you want and starve what you don't.
Yep.
And that's very important. So that minute that I made that switch from no longer crying, like, because I used to cry, like, why me? Like, I'm such a good person. Why do I have to go through all of this? And like you said, the truth is that everything in my life is happening for me, not to me. It all happened for me. If we all think about every single darkest time that we had, the times that we cried the most, the things that broke us to our core, those are what propelled us to our greatness. Those exact same things are what propelled us to our next level. So now I'm like, when the world is coming in on me, I'm like, oh, bring it on. Because I'm about to go to a whole nother level I've never been
Whole new
to.
level. Yeah. I love that you shared that. And I have had my own experiences. Like I almost went 200. I mean, not almost, I was almost $200,000 in debt. Like I've had during COVID, I would invest in mentorship and my bank account would only go to like negative $1,999. Like I knew it, you know what I'm saying? And I would like go there, push it often. And then it would like go
but
back
you were
up.
still investing on yourself though, right?
Yeah. Like I would never like all that money, like even though I've had a multiple six-figure business for a long time, like I still to this day, I don't have anything name brand. I've never bought Gucci. I've never bought Chanel. I've never bought anything because I don't feel like I have enough passive income coming in yet for that. So like even at 29 with the money that I've made, I've never bought in like anything unless it's gone into my PhD, my education, my business, or products that I'm making.
Okay, hold on. So I have something for you there.
Yeah.
So let's rewind back. So just know that when I was broke and when she was broke, we invested in ourselves. We still hired mentorship. I took out a payday loan to make it in the back of that room and sit and be mentored by the people who were speaking on that stage. So you must always be investing in you.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is that I literally I made over $750,000 in 1 year and still had never had Gucci, Prada, nothing. But what I have to tell you this because you touched on it. So the thing about that was though, I think it was a limiting thing for me too. Because come on, like I've made almost $1 million and I can't buy myself something like that. And it was because I would go in the store and be like, $3,000. Oh my God, that's like a car, And it was the old version of myself that was like, wouldn't allow me, because like I don't need those things. And those things don't make me like, it makes me happy to help other people, but I still needed to do that for myself just because. So I literally went out finally. And instead of buying one bag, I bought two bags, two St. Laurents in one day. And after I did, like, it was like, I felt so great because I think it was a limiting belief of mine to not spend that type of money on stuff that I really didn't need.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, people started seeing me like carrying those bags, and now all of a sudden like more people are paying attention to me.
I know what you're saying. Like I definitely like it because 80% of I think it's like an 85% of our communication is nonverbal or something like this.
Yeah.
So I definitely know what you're saying. I haven't had a $750,000 year. Yeah. But when I do, I might feel differently. But a lot of everything that I've done, I've put it, towards just towards my business or new products, like, or investing in myself. But like, it didn't matter. Like, even when I had like my abortion, and that was probably like the lowest of my, life and my career, but I was like building my business, my third book, and I still like, I was so depressed and so distraught, but I would show up every day on social media, still like do my writing, do my things. I was like investing in myself. Like, it definitely wasn't, I would go into debt and then get back out of debt. Like, I was always like just willing to do whatever it was to like really further myself and to put myself in rooms of people to like advance where I wanted to go, And so I think that's like a really important piece. And I think, wherever you are, like whatever, like you said, like you might be making 350,000 or 750,000, you may want to go spend it on that, the Gucci or the whatnot. I don't think there's like a right or wrong way. I think the most important from hearing Jennifer and I is like that you find what works best for you and what makes you feel like the most confident and aligned to like becoming who you want. Because for me, my investments were like for a product line I'm doing, or for like my Oracle deck that I've done, or I have like these sunglasses I've done, or it was towards my PhD. Like there was different things I was putting it into. So I think everyone, you just need to know, like, there's not a wrong place to put it. It's always what's going to like support you in your destiny.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that I kind of had, sorry, go ahead.
It was definitely a huge breakthrough for me to be able to do it, because I definitely had a limiting thing.
Limiting belief.
Do it. I was like, I can't do this. I literally would get heart palpitations. There's no way I'm spending this on a bag. So
totally. And for listeners who feel like they're kind of struggling, I mean, we kind of went over, well, I guess this is kind of a good segue, I guess, for listeners who you guys are listening to this and you're like, I can't even imagine spending money on a Louis Vuitton or on a Saint Laurent or on a PhD. Like I literally not even there. I'm just struggling and struggling and struggling and struggling. As you said, I would take out a pay loan, which is kind of like a tactical thing, a payday loan, and I would invest it to just get in the back of that room. But what were some of the other like tactical pieces that you did to really overcome your hardships to get you where you want to go?
I definitely was careful about who I surrounded myself with. I removed all limiting beliefs. So a really good thing and a really super easy thing that everybody can do is put like a rubber band on your wrist. And anytime you have like a negative thought where it's, I look ugly in this. I don't have enough money for this. I'm broke. I'm this. I'm not good enough. Whatever it is, like snap yourself. And you're teaching your mind to hurry up and release, get those thoughts out. Because I had to completely reprogram my mind so that I could stay positive, call into life everything that I truly desired. And so that, and the more that I did that, and the more that I was able to stay on that pace, the faster it would come. And then you would get into, and as long as you're holding your integrity very high too, whatever you say, you actually do, you have to. Our words are powerful. And if we say we're going to do something, you have to do it. Otherwise, you're kind of like, it's like you're going one step forward, but then you're throwing yourself 5 steps back. So you have to stay within integrity, remove limiting decisions, but see the life that you want. I don't care what life you're living, and feed what you want to grow, starve what you need to die. And it's so important. We have no idea how we are our own worst enemy. And we are the ones that create everything. We're 100% responsible for all that we call into life. And we are the only ones that hold the power to do that. So it's like, it's so easily said, but it's the most difficult thing to do because we're battling our inner self. So those are the most important things for sure, to call in that life that you truly desire.
And I like that you share like one of the biggest tactical things. I think it seems so simple, but it's so hard. Like it's so hard. And we're in the moment, is what you're saying is feed what we want and starve what we don't, which is so true, because anyone listening, when you're like in this place of survival, fight or flight, it's almost like, I got to survive. I got to do this. I got to, like, we have all these little thoughts, and it's so important, like you said, to be like, whoa, let's just observe that thought. And I'm going to starve that. I'm going to focus like in this moment. What does abundance feel like? What does prosperity feel like? What does whatever feel like? Okay, from this energetic place, from this energetic moment, like what is the action I can now take from this state and from this place? Like, and it's really like, it seems so simple, but I know that it's not when it's in it, like when listening, because her and I have both went through these moments. Like it's not when you're like, shit, I have negative in my account. I have 4 kids. My husband is ex-husband is an alcoholic. I'm going to lose my home. I'm just shoved my tree out of my house. Like those are not easy moments to sit there and like starve the thoughts going through you of like, oh my God, I feel like, I'm sure a million thoughts were going through your mind, but that's like the work of this life.
Yeah. The other thing is another very, very important piece is that you have to forgive, because just to give you like context and an example, like I was very angry at my ex-husband because like he literally lived down the street, but he never seen the kids. And so like the kids would be fighting, calling me while I'm at work, and I would be so angry, and I had to come to a place, but like that anger does nothing but keep me in prison because he doesn't care. It wasn't bothering him, but like me getting triggered, me getting upset, me attacking him, like that's all detrimental to me. I had to come to a place where I forgave him and didn't allow other people's actions to affect my world, you
Mm,
know, and or other people's inactions to affect me. So we have to forgive everyone and everything in life, even if they're hurting you and breaking you to the core. The longer you stay in that prison, it's your prison. It
mm-hmm.
doesn't have anything to do with them. They are not thinking about you. You're
Yeah,
not affecting their world. They are only affecting yours for as long as you hold them in it. So you have to forgive them. You don't
I
have to,
agree.
you don't have to accept them. You don't have to allow them access, but you have to forgive it and let it go so that it can no longer affect you. And that was very, very important for me too.
I agree. And I write that in my first book, Live Your Truth. I talk about like we made a self-made prison. So it's so true what you said. And I've definitely learned that in my own relationship journeys and travels of, you know, how long we hold on to something that someone really pissed us off, or like we're in a relationship, but someone really pissed us off or did something and we hold on to it and we hold on to it. And as women, especially, we close our hearts, even men, we close our hearts and we don't want to talk to that person. We don't want to communicate about it. We want to like call it the inner brat. We want to be an inner brat about it. But whoever closes, like it's hurting you the most because instead of like having a conversation and getting somewhere about it, it's like yeah. So I really like that you shared that. And so this kind of goes into our next place is what inspired you to write your book, No One Can Stop Me But Me, which comes out in January.
It was actually me losing everything because
The second time. I mean,
no,
the first time was like starting out. The second time was in 2009 or 10.
2010. Yeah.
10.
So 2010, during that dark time, like I started writing my book and I was like, this is losing all of these material possessions is not the end of my story. Like this is not where I end. And I was only like 30. So I was like, I definitely can, I still have a whole life ahead of me. Like this is not the end of me. There's no way I've been through all of these things in life and already accomplished so much or overcame so much that would be the end. And it's really interesting because my daughter's been an actress since she was 7, and
Mm-hmm.
she had done a low budget film, and the people came to the house to drop off a copy of the film. And I'm like, if you ever run out of stories, like I have incredible stories. They're like, you can counsel the world through film. And them saying that is what made me start writing my story. And I will be turning it into a motion picture because I do want to be able to impact, especially the people who are like me, because I wasn't reading a book. I
Yeah.
didn't read a book, but hopefully they'll see my story and then I'll be able to touch them in a way, to where I can inspire them and encourage them while they're going through it, that you really don't have to. And we are the ones that are in control of our own destiny. And, that's the reason I wrote it. I know there's a lot of people like me, and it's a very lonely, sad, dark time, and a lot of people don't make it out. You know, people don't make it out of the drug use or the abusive relationships, or or the family, not being everything that you need, and there's a lot of self-sabotage, and we hurt ourselves so deeply. So my the reason to write the book was really to encourage people that they hold the key and no
Mm.
one can stop them but them. So
I love that. And it's such a good, like, it just makes me emotional because it's like listening and like I just know the feeling, you know what I'm saying? Like I know that feeling of what it's like. And I know what your book will bring to those people who are also like struggling. And, it's just always great when more people awaken to share their story because we never know what people are going through behind closed doors. So I'm super excited for it to come out. And then kind of with that, and I said you kind of touched on it, was like you have your own key to unlock yourself. Is what do you wish everyone knew about getting out of their own way, and why is it so important?
I think I touched on a lot of them,
You
but
did, but I just didn't know, like, just to hone
yeah,
it,
there's
like
one
wrap
thing
it
I
up.
didn't touch on, and this is very, very important, and that is we need to pay attention to those things that trigger us.
Hmm.
Those things that make you go from 0 to 100, you think like, oh, that's your personality. That's just me. I just go 0 to 100 real quick. No, that's not what that is. That's your trauma.
Hmm.
Those things are your deepest, darkest wounds that you're probably not even aware that you have, because I wasn't aware that I had it. I mean, I was a mom, raised 4 kids. Like my twins are 17 now. So I say raised because they're almost 18. And I still had no idea the emotional damage that my dad had caused on me, sent me looking for men who would treat me the way that he treated me.
Mm.
And I just figured that out last year on my healing journey. But if I paid attention all of those years to any time anyone treated me like I wasn't good enough, that was my trigger.
Mm.
Anyone who treated me like I wasn't good enough, I would attack like I was a bitch off the street. I mean, it was really bad.
I know what
And
you're saying.
and so if I only would have known that our relationships, all of our relationships that we call into our life, our personal relationships, our business relationships, our children, those closest relationships to you, they are a mirror to help us heal what's within us. We are 100% responsible for calling it all in. It's just we don't know that, so when we call in like that toxic relationship, it's because there's a wound that we have that hasn't been healed. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all we think we deserve. And so we're calling that in because we haven't learned how to love ourselves the right way so that we can call in the love that we truly desire. Because if you're not willing to love yourself the way that you desire to be loved, then why should somebody else?
Totally. And it's funny because I just had a recent scenario pop up, which is I'll share it on here. But it's so great you said that because, there was a situation that happened recently where two people kind of called me. I don't want to say like we're attacking, but I felt under attack. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it felt like I was on the phone with one person. They added somebody else to the line, like not even asking me. It just like happened. And then like they were asking me for something and it felt like, I was like, oh my God. And I could have done it, but it was just like, I felt like I needed to like explain why my answer was no, or like it wasn't like accepted. And it just brought me to this really like anxiety, overactive mind. I couldn't focus for almost like 15 hours, like in a
Wow.
space of like, you know what I'm saying? Of like, oh my God, I can't like function. Like, oh my God, is this making me a bad person? Oh my God, does this mean that I'm not like, I don't like care about this person? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like it was like in this intense, like emotional reactive state. And it was the most beautiful thing because I talk about my third book, Uncompromised Life, like owning your no so you can live your heckly ass life, which is a struggle for us who are people pleasers and overachievers because we want to do everything for everyone.
Right.
And so it was like this experience of like, I had to like stick to say no. And then like I even ended up like, I don't know, a few days later, one of the people blocked me on Facebook or on whatever social media. And I was like, wow, like it's just crazy how quickly people can like flip when you don't do something they want you to do.
Well, I think as us being people pleasers, they're so used to the old version of ourselves that would just give everything, like overly give to where we're not receiving anything in return. So like when we shift those relationships and we're like, oh no, you can only get from me now what you're willing to give. And if if it's not reciprocated, like it's not happening, not today,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
So, and then where do you see is next for Jennifer and how can others be involved?
Oh, there's so much. But what's next is me being a best-selling author. So you can pre-order on Amazon. No one can stop me but me. Um,
And we'll
and
have the links in the comments.
yeah, and share it. Also, I do have a mission to help people achieve the dream of home ownership. My mortgage business is what feeds everything else I do. So I will be speaking on stages, creating courses, I'm sure, mentoring, and eventually you will see us on the big screen one day. So,
Yay. I love this. And so we'll make sure we leave the links for everything, like your website and the book on Amazon, so everyone can get it and it'll come out. But anything else you kind of want to wrap up with, or otherwise, we're so grateful for your time. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like it was such a good reminder and wholesome for my soul. Also,
yeah, I do
before
want
we,
everyone to know. So the type of mortgages that I'm really good at, go figure, would be helping people in low to moderate income areas, credit challenged people. So if you've been denied ever before, or if you're a real estate agent and your clients are getting denied, you want to have them take a second look with me so we can share that link as well. And because I've been able to craft solutions for clients who didn't think they could own homes. So, and our homes is where, that's where we have our family. That's where we raise our kids. So it's so important. And yeah. anything else you need from me. And otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you guys. If you guys want to put comments or if you have questions, I'll answer them. But I
Yeah.
just thank you so much.
What's your Instagram so people know how to reach out to you and ask a
It's
question?
I am Jen Hernandez. It's IamJenn Hernandez.
Perfect. All right. So you guys all know. So we love you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.